What's going on, guys? It's Basili12 here, kind of watching another video, and today we are going to be reviewing, doing another Clanmate review. I have not gotten word back from Irish or Asian Beetle, which I think were the two people who let me know that they were interested in getting a review. So today we're just going to be doing our Clanmate Kirito. He just recently got promoted to co-leader. The reason why I didn't promote him is because I usually don't promote people. That's usually something I like Irish to handle. The only time I really do is when it is brought up in chat when I am online and I believe that the person deserves it. So we're gonna be watching some replays, and then I'm gonna let him know when to jump into a live battle, so I can sort of talk about what I would do in certain situations, and we can see what he will do. I'll talk a little bit about it. Sorry, my sound is off. I'll talk a little bit about it when we're in these replays. So, from what I know, he runs a little bit of like a zap bait. I gotta turn my volume down. Volume gets weird for videos. It goes up and down when I'm recording. So, since he's running sort of like a baity deck, he's running a bit of like a hog bait mirror deck, which is interesting. Bait has always been very popular. It's very strong in my opinion. So right there, that's actually a very good counter. So usually when someone's playing Balloon, it's a little bit scary because Balloon is very hard to stop. It's a very powerful card. And what I like to do is have a couple cards in my hand that can stop Balloon. And in his case, he used Minion Horde, which is a positive elixir trade. I usually use Ice Spirit comboed with like Inferno. I don't really run Minion Horde in any of my decks. So right here, let's see what he does. Okay, that's actually a good play. There's not much he could do about the Balloon in that case, because it was sort of like pick your poison. Princess wasn't going to do much. He was sort of caught off guard right there. But whenever you're playing like Balloon decks, another thing to take note in this replay, I'm not sure if he took note of this or not, but something that I would take note of is the cost of their deck. So there's different costs of decks that you have to keep in mind, and there's different ways to play each different cost of deck. And what I mean by that is that if they're running a high elixir deck, the way to play that is that you want to constantly keep pressure on them. If they're running like a medium elixir deck, which from what this guy seems to be running, he seems to be running sort of a hybrid between like he seems to be running about a medium elixir deck. The reason why I say that is because he has some high elixir cards in there, sort of mixed in with some low elixir, so it kind of comes out to like a medium. And when I say like high elixir deck, I'm talking about like those big, heavy golem beatdown elite barb decks that are very brutal. So here, I would not have dropped a Minion Horde in that case because that leaves you vulnerable to a Balloon attack. I would have dropped Goblin Hut, and Goblin Hut is it's a structure, but it is something that can be used as a distraction to soak up damage. At this point, I would not defend this like he did, but he already had work going on, and you can lose a tower, and it's not the end of the world. But overall, that's pretty well played. I don't have much to say about that except for what I sort of talked about there. When you know they have a win, they have a strong win condition such as Balloon, you want to shape your cycle so that you always have that card ready in case they play it. And also, if they have like a support troop like Fire Spirits or Arrows, you want to somehow bait those out, which he has a very good baity deck to do that, which is strong. So here I would do a hog push opposite lane, and also I would not be pushing the same lane whenever you're doing beatdown, whenever you're facing beatdown. Right here, when he plays Giant, you have to know decks that are popular in the meta, or just very popular decks in general, and they're usually comboed with Giant. I would have dropped Skeleton Army there instead of Minion Horde. In my personal opinion, he did overspend on offense there, so that is an advantage, I wouldn't be caught up too much in the fact of the damage differentials between your opponent and yourself at this point, because you have to keep in mind that he spent, well, when I say he, I'm talking about Kirito. He spent less elixir on defense than his opponent, Cecile Gamer, spent on offense. So it's really not that bad. And when you're running a cheap cycly deck, you can come back very quickly. And what I mean by that is that if your opponent makes a mistake, which I'm guessing he made, because I'm not sure if there's a loss or a win. I didn't really check. But you have to capitalize on your opponent making mistakes. Like here's a common mistake that a lot of people make. I think I talked about a really long time ago, and that's leaking a lot of elixir. And what I mean by leaking a lot of elixir is sitting at 10, because what that allows is if you are at an elixir advantage, it completely takes away your elixir advantage once you do that. So I would have dropped Minion Horde back on the Musketeers, because those are the bigger threat. In any giant deck, the biggest threat is not the giant, it's the troops that come behind it. Because the giant is a tanky card that where their main win condition are their supporting troops behind it. In this case, it is the Electro Wizard, which is like sort of a secondary, along with the 3 Musketeers. His main win condition seems to be the 3 Musketeers, as well as the Bandit, because the Bandit is a very sneaky card that can get in there. So in that case, I would be targeting the supporting troops first. If in this case you don't have Fireball, which Kirito is not using. I'm not recommending that he should be using Fireball. It's just a different play style. And right here, I would I would have dropped Skeleton Army in that case. I would not have dropped Minion Horde. I'm not exactly sure, but that can cost him. He is lucky that his opponent is not running any direct damage. But in this case, he just drops 3 Musketeers in the center, and that sort of cost him. So whenever you're playing giant decks, you would want to be... Okay, you can do live battles now. Not love. My bad. Whenever you're facing giant, you usually want to target their supporting troops before you target their... where is he? You usually want to be targeting supporting troops rather than... Oh, here we go. You usually want to be targeting supporting troops rather than their... Okay, so I was a little late on that. I couldn't really see it. So we're going to see if he jumps into another one. I'm sort of mistaken. I confused him with Kairobi. He just got promoted. Kirito, I think, got promoted a while ago. So let's see if he goes into another live battle. Where is his name? Oh, there he is. Let's see if he does. I don't know. Well, it appears that he does not seem to be going... Yeah, you can... Yeah. I was watching replays first. Let's see if he goes into him now. This is the deck that he's using. Oh, he must have changed. Not sure. He probably changed away from that mirror card. A mirror is a card that has its uses. I don't use it personally. I run different type of bait decks. We're gonna donate right there. I'm trying to keep my donate. I try to keep my donations up because I'm a co-leader, but also at the same time I want to. Okay, go. Let's see if he goes. I'm not sure if he's talking about friendly battle or if he's talking about live battles. There could be there could be like a miscommunication there. We'll see if he accepts. Either way, we can sort of get a similar sense. I'm not sure what's going on right now. Oh, there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I don't know what his starting hand is, but his opponent started off really aggressively. So it is smart to go straight on the counter push like he did right here. So his opponent right now, I would be thinking he's running a hog cycle deck. And especially with Musketeer, that confirms the fact that he's running a hog cycle. So whenever you're facing these hog cycle decks, usually they only have 2 real troops you have to be worrying about, and that is the hog as well as the Musketeer. So his defense instead of cannon is going to be Tombstone, and I can guarantee you he probably is also running skeletons and he's gonna be running skeletons and also probably probably like Ice Golem or something like that. This is a very popular deck. You have to know what decks are popular and how to play around them. The strengths of this deck that he's facing is the fact that it can get down hog a lot throughout the match, and it constantly, if played correctly, okay, he's running Knight instead of Ice Golem, it appears. And the strength of this deck that he's facing is its ability to constantly keep pressure on your opponent. So right now I think he seems to be building up defense. Personally, I'm not a fan of Goblin Huts. Spear Gobs in general, I don't really think they're decent. They have their uses, but there are better options for a 5 elixir card, because in my opinion, what Spear Gobs serve for is chip damage, and that's about it. So if I was him, I would probably swap out Goblin Hut. See, that's a good play by him. He did a pip push, which was able to help him bypass the Tombstone, so his hog could get a shot off. And when you're playing sort of bait, like he is, you want to be playing very slowly and safely, and not over. That's really well played right there. That's what I was talking about earlier, using the Goblin Hut defensively. And in my personal opinion, I would probably swap his Goblin Hut for maybe like a defense such as a cannon or Inferno Tower, because what's going to happen is that he's going to be running into a lot of trouble against beatdown decks, and you sort of saw that in that 3 Musketeer replay that he shared, where he did have where he was facing some problems with that beatdown type deck. At this point, right when he dropped the Rocket, I probably would have gone after him. Sort of play that a little slowly. When you're playing bait, you have to keep them on their toes. I would probably also, since his minion horde seems to get arrowed a lot, work on baiting out arrows with like a princess or like skeleton army or something like that, and working around that. I'm not personally a fan of minion horde, because that, especially with a lot of people running arrows now, it's automatically is like a plus 2 elixir trade on their half. So I don't use it. I would probably swap out Minion Horde for a card such as Goblin Gang, maybe, and then swap out Goblin Hut for a defensive structure such as Inferno that will provide you better defense against beatdown. And if you're not facing a lot of beatdown, then I would swap out Goblin Hut for a card such as Cannon, which is a very versatile structure. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. I I would swap out cannon. I would swap out Goblin Hut for probably like a defensive structure such as cannon, maybe even Bomb Tower because that also provides that 5/5 swap. Bomb Tower is a very strong card. The only weakness is that if you're facing Lava Loon, it could be a little bit problematic. Ooh, sorry. I'm not really staying up here. It would be a little problematic when you're facing Loon. That's why I proposed a structure such as Inferno. That's actually a very good pre-arrow on his part, but also at this, right when you see that, you also have to note this guy's running bait. Bait is very popular in this part of ladder. Sort of as I would have waited for the wizard to cross over onto your side of the arena. Usually you want to keep the fight on your side of the arena rather than the opponent's side. What I mean by the fight is that when they have like a supporting troop, what you want to do is defend on your side because it provides for a better counter push. And I say that because you have your Princess Tower shooting at the opponent. So what I mean here, Inferno, it's provided a lot of support against beatdown. Because right here, a very popular way to stop beatdown pushes when you're running a Zap Bait type deck that he is that you'll drop Inferno and then Skeleton Army on the P.E.K.K.A. And he stopped that pretty well, but let's see how he stops this. Okay, so he's gonna drop Minion Horde. I would also recommend having a better tank, probably a better tank than the mini P.E.K.K.A. because the mini P.E.K.K.A. in my opinion is not really a tank; it's more of a tank killer. I run Knight. Knight is it's a common card. You can overlevel it, do whatever you want. Provides you very good defensive value for only 3 elixir. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't really watched too much of his replays to really get a sense of how he plays, so I wouldn't recommend making that drastic of a swap because the Knight and P.E.K.K.A. are very different cards. The Knight being more of a slower hitting. Here's an instance in which I said would like to reiterate. Sorry. Is waiting for the fight to be on your side. Right here, Minion Horde on top of P.E.K.K.A. Not the worst thing to do. He doesn't have a lot of answers to his. He does have a lot. Actually, no, I take that back. He does have a lot of answers to his P.E.K.K.A. But he doesn't have a lot of answers for his princesses, which is probably something I would swap Mirror for. Maybe like a log or something like that if you're facing a lot of those smaller units. Very useful. So I'm going to wrap it up about here. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up the video here. And to Kirito, if he watches this, the changes I would recommend are I would probably take Mirror out and swap it for maybe something like a log. So you have 2 spells, which provides you a much better defense against Zap Bait. And also, it just makes it more versatile. So like if you're running Goblin Barrel, you can arrow it or you can log it. You can do what you want. It makes it very difficult for them to work around that. I would swap Goblin Hut for maybe Cannon if you aren't facing beatdown. But if you are facing a lot of beatdown, a lot of Lava Loon decks, I would recommend Inferno instead. This is an optionary decision. I would also recommend swapping out Minion Horde for like Goblin Gang. And then here's the optionary decision, which is probably something I would do, is swap out Mini P.E.K.K.A. for Knight, because the Mini P.E.K.K.A. in my opinion is a tank killer, and that's something you use to kill tanks. And if you have Inferno, like you swap for Goblin Hut, you would not need it. It would require a little bit of a different playstyle, but it would still hold that sort of Zap Bait deck or Zap Bait mentality in which you'd be playing. So what your deck would sort of look like, just so I can make it for you right now. We're going to copy that to deck slot 1, and I'll tell you the changes I would make. So we're going to copy this to deck slot 1, and what I would do is that I would swap out Goblin Gang for Minion Horde, because what I saw is that your Minion Horde getting taken out a lot. This provides your deck to be better, to cycle better, and I would put in Inferno for beatdown. Sort of like the reason why I would keep this, I actually would probably recommend this if you keep this against Hog, because you have a lot of answers to Hog in this deck. For instance, you have the Skeleton Army, and also you have Goblin Gang. Goblin Gang is not zappable. It only zap out the Spear Gobs, and it is something you can work around. What else would I propose? Oh, and also I would propose a change for Log. So this is the deck that, this is sort of what the deck would look like, your proposed change. You will notice that a lot of these, that looks a lot similar to my deck. Mine's a little different, but he's using Hog. So you want a tank, such as the Knight. Log, so you can deal with, so you have much better answers to cards such as Goblin Gang or Skeleton Army, and you don't have to be as afraid once you use a spell. Like if you're pre-arrowing or pre-logging, you're not going to be concerned if they try and punish you with like a Goblin Gang, Goblin Barrel type combo, because you do have the log to deal with that. I would recommend that, as I saw you doing in some of your replays, whenever they're dropping Skeleton Army or Goblin Gang, if you have Princess in rotation, drop the Princess to deal with it, because these spells, in my opinion, I use them more as like an emergency. More of like an emergency card in case I don't have Princess or anything to deal with it. I would recommend, if they are running Goblin Barrel, to be logging or arrowing it, because surrounding your tower with Skeleton Army or with Goblin Gang is a risky thing to do. Is not something you want to do very often, because you will be taking some damage. So this is my proposed change to your deck. You can take it if you want or not. In my opinion, it will provide it will provide your deck being much more cyclable. It would also, in my opinion, make your deck a little bit stronger on defense, as well as maybe not as strong on offense. And the reason why I say that is because when you take Minion Horde out, it's not going to be as punishing, but also you won't constantly be putting yourself at an elixir deficit whenever you drop Minion Horde, and they already have like a wizard or any sort of splash unit down to deal with it, because then your Minion Horde is just sort of wasted and can't really be used on the counter push. Goblin Gang is not is something that's generally zapped, not arrowed. It is arrowed sometimes, but then you can go with like Hog, Skeleton Army. You can get real creative with zap bait decks, or you can drop Princess just for some cheap chip damage. So that's my proposed advice for you. You can take it if you want. So this is gonna be the end video. I am planning on doing more of these in the future. These are a lot of fun to make, and I do really want to help you guys out there. So if you want to be on the list per se for a Clanmate review, if you're not in the clan, we do have a spot open. Just let me know, and I will get you in so I can do one. So this is the end of the video. This is Basilia12 signing off, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.